Get your horns up. Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome to the Texas Tailgate Show. I'm Jeff Howe. He's Jerry Hamilton. Jerry's probably got the best view in the house of all of us today. Bobby Burton, CJ Vogel down at the LBJ Lawn, down at the Longhorns tailgate. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This tailgate show brought to you by our friends at Hargrove Roofing. We'll tell you more about Hargrove here in a little bit. Also want to thank our friends from Tito's, Flight by Yinling, and Von Lane for sponsoring our game day coverage here at On Texas Football. Jerry, I'll start with you and your ocean view. We're watching the early slate of games. Is anything that happened reinforce something you're thinking about Texas, change something you're thinking about Texas, change something you want to see? Any thoughts right now?
No, not really. I mean, look, I think the SEC is looking pretty good today. Is one thing I will say. But I think this conference is going to be is going to have more depth than what we've seen. But nothing I've seen specifically, other than don't turn the ball over in the red zone. Clemson just did.
Bobby, CJ, what's the vibe down there by campus?
Right now, we're 2 hours 15 from kick. We just saw the Texas buses go by, so that's interesting. We also are seeing people stream in a little bit, but it's definitely a little light crowd at this point, if you don't mind me saying. CJ, you agree with that?
I mean, it's a little toasty out here. I don't know how you're getting away with the long sleeve, Bobby, but a little toasty right now. Folks are filing in. We're seeing the bus come through about 5 minutes ago. Texas fans are showing up in waves right now.
Yeah, they're coming in. I would say this for everybody. This is an interesting game. The UTEP tailgate is literally right across from us. And they probably got about 200-300 folks over there. Several tailgates around as we came in. A little heavy traffic, but again, there's that cool breeze, CJ. We just got a little hint of cool breeze. But Texas, I just think this is a little bit more lightly attended game at this point, to be honest.
I think it's going to be, and here's why I say that. You want to know how to have a one game attended more than the other? Have a 315 and 140-degree heat on the field 1 week, and the next week's a night game. I mean, the next week being a night game is the one people are going to want to go to. I mean, so having a 3:15 kick in mid-September and the next week's a night game, it doesn't matter who the opponents are. People are going to choose the night game.
No doubt. I can agree with you there. CJ, want to get with you and Bobby on the injury front for Texas. Sark was asked specifically about Quintravion Wisner, DeAndre Moore, Alex January, and Emmett Mosley on Thursday. In the Zoom call, he said those guys are doubtful to out in terms of their status. CJ, are you going to be surprised if we see any of those guys today and anything injury-wise we can get to?
And right now, I would expect Texas to be without all of them, essentially, or at least very limited with the four that you mentioned there, Jeff. I don't expect Trey Wisner to be on the field, and I think that's why Sark on Thursday said expect to see a lot of James Simon for the first time in his Texas career. On top of that, the big question now is, will we see Jack Indris, a guy that was rolled up on last week a bit, limpy with his ankle. Right now, his status is certainly up in the air as well, but I would expect Texas to be very cautious with some of those key members in the starting 22 on both sides of the ball.
What we've been told is that injuries will at the very least be on a snap count. Just to give you guys an understanding of what we're hearing. There are other guys. You mentioned Alex January. I think he's going to be out at least for this week, Jeff. He could be even another week for him. His injury's a little different. We heard that Jonah Williams may have had a setback in the last 5 to 7 days, which is unfortunate for that situation. So all in all, right now, Texas not overly concerned with injuries, especially given the opponent today. At the same time, I think it's fair to say Texas being overly cautious with Sark operating with an abundance of caution. And I think also even at tight end, he's hopeful he gets some young guys some snaps and continues to develop them.
Jerry, I want to go to you with that. With those guys out, CJ, Bobby both mentioned James Simon. Mark said he's excited to see him. Probably more Nick Townsend this week, depending on Michael Taft's status. If he's on a snap count, maybe more Xavier Filsaime this week. another opportunity, Jerry, for those 2024 and 2025 recruits we haven't seen much of yet, continuing to get some experience.
Yeah, I think it's Nick Towns is going to become more of a fixture on this team. I do believe that. And I think they're going to start to get him worked in the passing game if possible, because I think he's a speed threat and a matchup issue potentially. But I think this latest running back room is going to play out. It's very interesting. We kind of talked about before all summer. This seems like such a long off season. When you didn't know where CJ Baxter was going to be, and the coaching staff didn't either, then he got ahead of schedule for them after the first few practices and scrimmage. But you knew Trey Weiser, then you started to say, okay, CJ Baxter. But before you knew where CJ Baxter really was going to be late in his rehab process, we kind of talked about 3, 4, and 5. I think will play out on the field. I think the running back position has to play out in games, not in practice. It's such an instinctive position. So Sark mentioning James Simon, whenever he starts mentioning these guys, remember, I mean, he called Ty Anthony Smith a budding star, right? So he gives hints on things, and he talked about Simon in a fall practice at one point, and now says, oh, he talked more about Simon this week. So Simon's about to get his opportunity, and it'll be interesting to see Chris. And I consider Christian Clark one of those young players. That was his first ever game action. Let's see how he is in the second time carrying a football in a college game. He had a serious injury last year too, and came back from it. But it's going to be very interesting to see how these young running backs, how this plays out for 3, 4, 5 here in the next 2 weeks, because I think it's all in the balance. I'm very interested to see Grayson Littleton this week, guys, because they're going to attack him, and I think it's the best thing for his career is to really be tested, to get beat, like the kid from San Jose State did last week a couple times. They're going to use Odom, the best receiver at UTEP, and go after him today. And I think that's the best thing for Grayson Littleton's development. The best thing for his development is a really good game against Ohio State. Then people don't test him really. That doesn't make him a better player. These games are making Grayson Littleton better for the long haul for him and really accelerating his development. Then let's watch for Lance Jackson, Justice Terry, some of those guys. Do we see any more of a Josiah Sharma with Alex January expected to be out again? I'm really just watch these young kids, young receivers. I think we're going to see more. Obviously, Dalen McCutcheon could start today or potentially will. I think we're going to see more Khaleke Lockett today as well.
Yeah, Bobby, CJ, on that note, going to wide receivers, we just watched in the Clemson game, Bryant Wesco put them back on top of the 73-yard touchdown. I always go back to that really talented group of 2024 receivers across the country. How important is it for you guys? Because one of the things I want to see today, I want to see Sark get Ryan Wingo involved early, get the ball in his hands early in some situations where he can make something happen after the catch, get Arch comfortable. How important is it for you guys for this passing game to really get Ryan Wingo going early today?
It's imperative, Jeff. I think it's a good point. And I will add this. We've been talking about, has Arch Manning been pressing? Well, I think Ryan Wingo's been pressing, and Arch Manning has been pressing to get him the football. And if that can happen, I think that'll loosen up the offense a little bit in a good way. I do think that the offense, and I wrote that this morning on OnTexasFootball.com, I think the offense and some members of the defense have been pressing a little bit, trying to get stats, trying to figure things out instead of just letting it come to them naturally. Obviously, Wingo having not an ideal start to the 2025 season, but he is the big play that's going to happen in the tech. I think there's an element there, Jeff and Jerry, that we definitely want to see today.
You got to get him involved early, Bobby, for two things. One, it's good for Ryan. Look, you don't want guys to feel the pressure, to not feel the pressure. The offense and Arch specifically didn't necessarily play with confidence because of what happened early in that game. If that starts to build, if there's an early drop with Wingo again, you just got to keep feeding them, get that confidence going, and get them gelling on that offense side of the ball, and not let it linger further into the season.
All right, before we go on any further, Bobby, I'll let you tell us about our friends over at IP Vanish.
network, a VPN. It's a tool to make your connection on your public network private. IPVanish creates a layer of protection between your device and the internet at large. With IPVanish, not only is your Wi-Fi activity shielded from others, but your physical location is too, which determines the media, news, apps, and websites you can access, like the SEC network. So if you're interested in a safer way to use the internet, try IPVanish. Monthly, annual, and biannual rates are available. Go to ipvanish.com/on Texas football. That's ipvanish.com/on Texas football, or follow the link in the description of this episode. Again, IPVanish, new sponsor of On Texas Football.
Yeah, also want to remind everybody, go hang out with Bobby and CJ down at the tailgate before the game. Bobby, we still got that $200 in duck camp to give away, do we not?
A bit later, excited about that. We got a lot of folks. The tailgate's starting to get a little filled up now. Since we've started, even Jeff, people are filing in a little bit. CJ.
Outstanding. Jerry, we've talked, all of us have talked this week on the channel about Scotty Walden and that UTEP program. And,
Yeah.
you know, look, we all know what the outcome is today, but I've been of the opinion, I'm not going to be shocked if we looked up in the next 3 years or so and Scotty Walden's moved on to bigger and better. This is at least going to be an inspired team, Jerry, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
No, there's no doubt. Look, we thought that San Jose State would come in with a inspired effort the week before because the week prior they had stubbed their toe against Central Michigan at home, and the San Jose State coach said it was the worst loss of his career. Well, here's the thing with UTEP coming in. There's a lot of kids from Texas on this roster. Scotty Walden, he's a Texas guy from Cleburne, right? There's a lot of Texas flavor on this staff. These guys see this Texas game as a huge opportunity. There's probably 30, 40 guys on this team that wanted to go to Texas. And I know it's a broken record, but it matters in these games. All those kids that Texas never gave a look to, they're sitting there saying, this is my chance. This is my chance to put myself on a national stage and go make plays against one of the power programs, one of the programs I dreamed about going to, but I didn't get recruited by. Those kids are going to have motivation coming into this game. And one thing I'll say about the head coach at UTEP, and people know I'm a big fan of his, and it's not like he's accomplished a ton in his career, but when you've been in this business a long time, you listen to guys and you hear the way they communicate, the way they talk, and kind of their approach, and you say, okay, if this guy gets over the hump at a very tough G5 job, which UTEP is, this guy's going to go on to be a really good Power 4 coach more than likely. So he's going to have his team ready. I don't think they're as good of a team as San Jose State, but that doesn't matter. Texas has to come bring it today. They have to play well. But I think this is going to be a very motivated team. You're going to see these guys come in with a chip on their shoulder because, again, a lot of these kids are from the state of Texas. I'll say this on Malachi Nelson, too. This is his first big game as a college player. The quarterback for UTEP who signed with USC, transferred to Boise, didn't win that job either. This is his chance for him. This may be his best chance this season. Now, he's also never faced a defense with the speed like he's about to because USC in practice didn't have anything close to this. This is going to be a big test for Malachi Nelson today, who some people, by the way, had ranked ahead of Arch Manning coming out of high school senior year.
Yeah, Bobby, that's one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, CJU as well. In an alternate universe, Malachi Nelson will be quarterbacking Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley against Texas this year, but that is not the case. And it's a nice challenge for the Texas defense today, not just because of Malachi Nelson and his arm talent, but you look at this UTEP offense. They've done a really good job protecting him. It's an air raid-ish offense. It's got air raid roots, but 56 dropbacks this year for Malachi Nelson, according to Pro Football Focus, only been pressured on 12 of them. So, Bobby, we've seen this Texas defensive front get close. It's going to be another really good challenge for them to try to get to the quarterback this week.
I will say this, and CJ, I'd like your thoughts on it. Sark talked about how his offense needs to adapt to different defensive pressures. Conversely, the Texas defensive front needs to adapt its pass rush to different offenses and styles. The air raid is one of those styles that they will see even if it's a, somewhat bastardized version of it. What do you look for the Texas pass rush in this game?
Well, look, it's got to be the one-on-one matchups again. I do think that there's going to be chipping and shading to the Colin Simmons side. So what does that do for Brad Smith or Ethan Burke on the opposite side, who've got a lot of pressure? But that pressure, as we've talked about over the last few years, pressure is great if you can't get home and get the quarterback on the ground for a negative play. How much does that really help? But again, will we see more creativity? You probably don't need it. But again, we talked about confidence and playing with your hair on file, that defensive style. Ultimately, I think Texas is going to be more creative today, and I think this is a great opportunity for Colin Simmons to bring some pressure, get back in that stat column. And look, UTSA is not going to push the ball vertically down the field, at least not with success. They're 6 of 24 completing passes, 10 or more yards down the field. That's not a successful recipe against Texas. And if you aim to go that route, where your quarterback's sitting in the pocket, expecting a lot of time against this pass rush, look, again, that's not going to be a successful recipe. But I'm looking for that pass rush and that linebacking unit to get very active very early.
All right, under 2 hours to go until kickoff. We are right now. I want to take a minute to say thank you very much to our friends over at Hargrove Roofing, with offices across Texas, including in Austin, as well as Louisiana and Arkansas. Hargrove Roofing will take care of all of your roofing needs. Plus, they're Longhorn friendly with former partners like defensive tackle Stevie Lee. They're the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. No one wants to turn their home over to a company they can't trust. So call Hargrove today for a free, no strings attached roof inspection. Just call 512-645-3202. Again, that's 512-645-3202. Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. Jerry, I want to go to you real quick. We just talked about the UTEP offensive line and that system Scotty Walden has, how they've kind of insulated Malachi Nelson. Sark has really challenged the Texas offensive line this week. Arch Manning's been pressured on about 40% of his dropbacks this year. He wasn't happy about it on Monday. Wasn't very happy about it again when I asked him about the O-line on Thursday. It's a really, really big game for Kyle Flood's group.
It is. And look, I think the identification pre-snap is going to be huge today for Arch and Cole Hudson. Because the one thing about UTEP, they played a lot of three-man front. But their linebackers are their best player. They got two true linebackers and a hybrid. So Cole Hudson and Arch Manning, everybody's going to have to be on the same page after that helmet call goes off, because they're going to be disguising. They're going to try to bait and switch and disguise where this pressure is coming from. And so the offensive line is going to have to be in sync and on the same page today. But Cole Hudson and Arch have to be on the same page as well. This is a big game for Arch to make a lot of correct checks pre-snap, because I think they're going to try to bring as much confusion pre-snap as possible, and then let some of those linebackers get home or get in situations where their pass rush can be successful, because those are their best players. So I think Cole Hudson, I think Arch Manning both have a huge job today pre-snap. And I'm not trying to build UTEP up into something. We're just talking about the game. That's the strength of UTEP's defense. UTEP shouldn't play Texas a close game. Texas has to play bad, but we're just talking about the game within the game. Those are the areas for Arch and Cole that I think are going to be really key today, is getting past any pre-snap confusion to put everybody in the best chance to be successful, especially after that head comm goes off.
No doubt. Bobby, CJ, we'll bid you guys farewell here in just a second. Want to remind everybody that's interested in getting down to the tailgate, if you're there already, we got that $200 to give away from Duck Camp before things are all said and done at the tailgate. Bobby, CJ, before you guys sign off, any final thoughts, anything you want to see, the last word from you guys before kickoff?
I want to see a cleaner game. I want to see an offense that improves, but that is one that is able to sustain itself and carry into the next week. I don't want just one-hit wonders. I want a constant improvement of this offense. Yeah. CJ?
Playmakers. I want to see who, with the ball in their hands, makes plays, especially against UTEP, who, according to PFF, is the #1 graded tackling defense in the entire country. Who can extend plays, make guys miss, and create explosives. That's what I'm looking for.
All right, Bobby, CJ, thank you guys so much. We'll let you guys get going. Jerry and I will wrap it up here in just a second. I want to get to a super chat, though, real quick. Thank you, Super Lannister, for the super chat. Said, I'm eating mayo on my corn dog, and it's whispering to me, UT will shine on first down today. setting them up for success on third down and in the red zone. Enjoy. Jerry, I didn't know a corn dog could speak to somebody in such a manner, but such it is for Scooter Lannister today.
No, he's speaking my language, and yes, that does happen a lot, by the way. But yeah, look, that's a great super chat, Scooter. Thank you for the support, and thank you for that. First down offense, I think, is massive for Texas today, because let's keep going back to third and 9.75 last week on average. Third and 7.5 for the season for Texas. Neither one of those are winning in the SEC on the road. That puts you up against it, and your margin for error is gone. So this Texas offense, first down, is a huge play. And then if you can get to the second mediums, not getting the key penalties, giving yourself a chance to stay in third and medium, or get the third and short, or convert on second down and reset the chains. But first down offense, I think, is massive today, because if your offense is struggling and some players maybe, I'm not going to say lack confidence, but are pressing, any first quarter hiccups, lack of success, 3 and outs against UTEP, it's only going to compound that stuff mentally. So Texas needs to just play clean football on first down in their first 2 or 3 possessions. And I'm not even saying score touchdowns. You'd love to score touchdowns, but just move the chains. Have positive drives. Not look down and say, I'm missing all my toes after the game, right? I mean, just play a clean first quarter offensively, because if you do that, more than likely you're going to put 10, 14 points on the board, but give yourself a chance. That's the one thing I look at with the Texas offense, is whether it's drop passes, whether it's a missed assignment, whether it's a penalty, whether it's Archmate not hitting on an easy pass, everything they're doing right now is seemingly a setback when you're trying to maximize your offense. So that's what I'm looking for today in the first quarters, is just clean offensive football. And I'm not sitting here saying you got to go score 21 in the quarter. Just consistently make play after play after play that's positive. And if they stop and you have to kick a field goal or punt the ball, you tip your hat to them. But that's really what needs to happen in the first quarter.
Yeah, Jerry, I thought the 2 symbols last week of just the offense's frustrations all day, they started with that explosive to DeAndre Moore on the flip pass that gets called back for a penalty, and their last play from scrimmage was the Jarrett Gibson fumble. So it's just the way it bookended, just kind of symbolized the frustration. And like you said, if you got those early miscues, it's just going to compound everything. It just felt like the offense's day. Right, and Parker Livingston went on to have a great game, but just that penalty right off the jump when you wanted to play a clean game just got everything started off on the wrong foot. I've got another super chat to get to here. Again, thank you guys for the super chats. Circle of Trust says, hopefully a new receiver can enter the Circle of Trust. Jerry, I know Sark's been asked a lot about Dalen McCutcheon the last couple of weeks, but the guy that I'm really looking for to see if he gets more snaps is Khalil Lockett, because Sark went out of his way on Monday to mention that glance concept, that's kind of a staple in their offense. You know, Sark's offense is an RPO-based offense. Sark seems really proud of the job Khalil Lockett's doing, so I want to see if he gets some more run today. Yeah, I think he will. And look, I think we could see the glance routes early in this game. That's not going to be a surprise. That's a good way to get Ryan Wingo involved, by the way. But yeah, I think, look, Khalil Lockett, the one thing Khalil Lockett is going to bring to this Texas offense, especially over time, is you don't have to make the perfect pass for him to go take the ball out of the air and snatch it out of the air. He has great body control. He has really good timing. So I think that's one of the things I'm looking for, is you can put him in. I wouldn't be shocked if you don't see him in the red zone today, because I think he's got that ability just to go win a 50-50 ball and turn into 70-30. And I think, again, when you're looking for, okay, how can Sark help maximize Arch? Well, one of the ways is, one thing that Texas hasn't had right now, because of Wingo's inconsistency early on. Emmett Mosley hasn't played. Livingstone made a hell of a catch against Ohio State in the end zone. Is who's your 50-50 ball guy? Who's out there to help your quarterback? Because the quarterback can't be the only one. He's got to have help coming back at his direction. Khalil Lockett may end up being that guy for Texas this year. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, CJ and I posted a video on the channel yesterday, Jerry, talking about the play action game, and part of getting the play action game going is your run game's got to be better. So again, a really big challenge. Sark has challenged the Texas offensive line. I really want to see how that group responds today. All right. I want to thank our friends over at Hargrove Roofing for sponsoring the Texas Tailgate. Also want to thank our friends at Tito's Flight by Yingling and Von Lane for sponsoring our game day coverage here at On Texas Football. Also want to thank IP Vantage for their sponsorship during the tailgate show. Don't forget, if you're down on campus or going to the tailgate, make sure you get over there. It's our partner with our friends over at Surly Horns on the LBJ lawn. Just look for the tent. A $200 duck camp giveaway before we're done and everything gets to kick off. Jerry, as we wind it up, as we wrap it up, you got the last word.
Watch with us, 3:15 p.m. for the game right here. Aaron Hogan, Jeff, myself, Rod Babers, Bob Shipley. Look, I picked Texas 48-13 in this game. I just, look, there's some injuries on the 10. Jack injuries, everybody says that, so it thinks you say that with injuries. But there's some injuries on this Texas offense. Does this Texas offense have the firepower right now and the confidence to go out there and just kind of smoke an opponent? I'm not sure. It would be great to see that today. But if you're telling me Wisner's out, DeAndre Moore's out, Emmett Mosley still's not going to play, injuries is less than 100%. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with this football team right now offensively that lead me down the path of, okay, it's not going to be a score fest. And I'm not sure Sark's really coaching that type of game. I think he's coaching the game to best maximize the plan for his offense as the season moves along versus score points, Jeff.
Yeah,
and that's more under center. That's more run game. That's more arch and pure dropbacks. Now, if guys go out and make big plays, I could see the score getting to a different level. But I'm not sure Sark's coaching that type of offense right now. I think he's trying to build an offense for later in the season.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Jerry, but finding an identity and playing a cleaner football game, just situationally, is where 2 minutes before the half, third down, as you talked about earlier, Jerry, that's where I want to see this offense be cleaner. And the defense just keep building on what you're doing. And well, shoot, let's see an identity in the kicking game. It's kind of been the tale of two different ball games for the kicking game. We got one last super chat here real quick, Jerry, that we'll get to. Football Texas, thank you for the super chat. It says, can Livingstone be our Ed McCaffrey but faster? Jerry, I'll say this. Parker Livingston right now is kind of he's taking the route that I hoped he would this year, where I said before the season started, if Parker Livingston can be for Arch Manning what Billy Pittman was for Vince Young in 2005, then he will have had a great year. Livingston's on track to put up better numbers than Billy Pittman, but Jerry was that guy that, hey, anytime you're going for a big play down the field, that's the guy you're looking for. Livingston's been that guy through the first two games.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking – I was thinking about that. I'm going more – and I'm not saying he's going to be this level guy. Okay, they're different players. But Ladd McConkey, that's what you need him to be, right? I mean, and Ladd wasn't as tall of a guy, but Ladd McConkey, I'm going a little more – recent, right? Ladd McConkey has had 31 for 447 yards, 5 touchdowns in a Georgia national championship season. Then he had a 762-yard season. Then he came back and was hurt a lot in 2023. But that was a guy that was overlooked in recruiting, was, I think, a walk-on for Georgia, right? There was all these highly recruited guys around him. And then Parker Livingston, then Ladd McConkey ends up being the 1 or 2 option on a team ranked in the top 10. That's what you want to see from Parker Livingston. And Parker Livingston was a more highly recruited guy. Obviously, Ladd McConkey was a walk-on, but that's what you want to see from Parker Livingston, because he came in with all these guys that are all ranked higher than him around him, and you want to see that guy continue on the trajectory he's on, because he is ascending quickly. But the main thing for Parker is, again, I know he's caught the touchdown passes. He's made the plays. This is about this game is about maximizing what you can do, becoming a really good all-around player. Texas needs his perimeter blocking to start catching up with his pass catching and route running. Because if this Texas offense is going to be able to maximize this year, he's got to become a better blocker on the perimeter. I think Ryan Niblett's being asked to do some tough things. He's got to become a better blocker on the perimeter.
Yes.
These receivers have to block better on the perimeter, else you're not going to have a screen game. You're not going to have a horizontal game, and that's going to put even more pressure on the Texas offensive line as the season moves along.
Jared, great point. A lot of people have been saying, hey, we'll get the quick game and we'll get the screen game. You got to be able to block it on the perimeter, and they did not block it last week. And hopefully from a situational standpoint, that Texas is better on money downs than Georgia Tech just was on this fourth down in the Clemson game. That was one of the most brutal fourth down attempts you'll ever see. At any rate, thanks to everybody in the chat for participating. Jerry, thank you for the knowledge and expertise as always. Again, if you want to hang out with Bobby and CJ for a little bit, they're down on the LBJ lawn, partner with our friends over at Surly Horns for the tailgate. Go say hi before things are over there. Got the $200 duck camp giveaway, so make sure you head over there for that. Thank you to Matthew, working hard behind the scenes, getting it produced. Want to thank again our friends over at Hargrove Roofing. Thanks to IP Vantage. Thanks to Tito's, Flight by Yingling and Von Lane for sponsoring our game day coverage. Make sure, as Jerry said, you tune into the watch with us coming up here on the channel at 3:15. Aaron Hogan hosting that. It'll be Jerry, myself, Rod Babers, Bob Shipley all throughout the game. And our post-game coverage, CJ and I will have the little quickie recap. Also, you got Bobby and company on the post-game show. So busy all day long here over on Texas Football, the On Texas Football YouTube channel, and over on the website. So make sure you check all of it out. For Jerry, for Bobby, for CJ, for the entire On Texas Football staff, and for all of our sponsors, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Enjoy the game, and until next time, welcome.